In America, we are slaughtering our iconic Mustang. When Ford named their car, the most famous car that they have, they called it the Mustang because it's the symbol of American freedom. And if you take pride in being an American, if you feel that we are, truly the land of the free, and that can be debated right now, but I don't want to go there, but you'll stand up for these Mustangs.
Join me, Dr. Allecia Maine, on Ask the Animal Healer, where each episode opens the floor to engaging and vulnerable conversations with fascinating guests and their animals about their journey in life and career, as well as soul wisdom and truth their furry family members have shared with them. We will also dive into the reality of quantum energy healing and telepathic communication as I offer a distance healing session and communication to each guest's animal to discover what they know about themselves, their behavior, health, and life mission with their humans. Thanks for joining us, and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Ask the Animal Healer with Dr. Allecia Maine. That's me. And I am so excited for today's interview and conversation and connection with Mary DeBonis of Mustang Valley Sanctuary. Mary is a horse rescuer. She rescued Mustangs. She is a trainer. She is a healer. She works with veterans. She works with children. And she provides sanctuary for some of our wild horses that have been gathered off the lands. And so today we're going to just have a really open, beautiful conversation about how Mary got into this line of work and service and mission, and learn about the horses at the sanctuary and learn about how horses support human healing and growth, and what wisdom and Mustang musings the Mustangs have shared with Mary that we can pick up and work with in our own daily lives. So Mary, thank you so much for being here. And so nice to see you. And I'm just really excited to dive into this conversation because it feels like it's gonna open up a lot of people's perspectives about who horses are, and especially Mustangs. And I'm not putting Mustangs above any other horses, but in terms of original behaviors and in terms of family bands and just their deepest connection to Earth, they're still quite connected. So welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. And I agree. Mustangs, they're not above or below. They're just different.
So how did you get into this? I know that we both talked. We're both New Yorkers. So I'm sure we're both probably typical type A beings that have gotten around horses and mellowed out a whole bunch. So how did your path, how did you come to where you are today?
Horses have always been a part of my soul, my essence, my being. I've just always had to be near them. And I have been rescuing for a very long time. And then I found out about what was happening with the Mustangs, and I got my first Mustangs probably 15 years ago, and I'm hooked. They're different.
What is that Mustang magic? Like what is that wisdom? What is that essence? Because so often, people are always talking about training. They're not talking necessarily about the essence of horse, and especially the essence of Mustangs. Like what is that? Can you share that with us?
That's a big question. It's a good question, and it's a big question. And the reason why Mustangs are so much different than a domestic horse, the process of domestication actually does change a species. So the dog is a descendant of the wolf. So there's actually scientific studies that show that when you domesticate a species, they change. Their amygdala gets smaller, their brain patterns change, and actually their facial structures change. Mustangs are raised in the wild in a family unit. So if we took a human And we just stuck them in a room and we just pulled them out once in a while to groom them and run them around a track or play with them or ride them around a trail, and then stuck them back in that stall. And they never had the bonding or education from another horse, from another human. They would be different. And it's the same thing with a horse. If you allow that horse to be in a family structure where they're self-sufficient, these Mustangs were self-sufficient. They didn't need human interaction, where domestic horses have always relied on humans to care for them.
How, because you worked with both, right? I'm assuming you grew up with domesticated horses and then you got into working with Mustangs. What do you see like in behaviors, in emotions, in resiliency? Like what are the things that you have seen are different in terms of the wild horses and the domestic horses?
There's a lot of behaviors that are different. The way that the Mustangs speak to each other out in the herd, it's usually with just an ounce of pressure. It's very rarely that I see any of the Mustangs here in a herd having to yell at each other or even having to yell at me. We all communicate on a nice level, where I do see domestic horses sometimes, if they want another horse to move, they go right to biting, they go right to kicking. They don't. Yeah, they don't know how to communicate with an ounce of pressure, and they're
well, that's important. It's really, really, and the reason I'm asking is because, I noticed this like in the dog world when I was training, and I started to realize, I was like, on some level, and especially, knowing and being around the difference between dog and wolf, and then also seeing horse and domesticated horse and Mustang, it's almost like we believe we're bringing out the best in these domesticated animals, but in certain ways, we're almost dumbing them down. And we don't realize this, do you know? And even like the level of intelligence that they talk about in dogs, like, oh, the typical dog will be like a 4 to 7 year old child. But I had a wolf dog that I never spayed. I never bred her, but her intelligence and her wisdom was like fascinating. So can you share like what some of those differences are? Because I really do think that even, people with the best of intentions with their horses and the domesticated horses, I don't think they fully understand what is actually normal behavior and what's not. And like somebody being around a Mustang would be like, oh no, you got to be really careful. They're really dangerous. When in a lot of ways, they're oftentimes safer.
I agree with you. So they're all individual, like we're individual. So they all have different behaviors and likes and dislikes, and they gravitate, some Mustangs gravitate towards other Mustangs, and, almost like a human being. You meet somebody on the street, sometimes you're like drawn to that person, almost like, oh my God, there you are. I know you, even though you don't know them. And other people, you're like, you're nice, but we don't need to hang out. And it's the same thing with the Mustangs, where, they do gravitate towards certain other Mustangs. But, like I have, Michaela is here, and Michaela is a Salt Wells Creek Mustang that came to us pregnant from the kill pen. And she, as a pregnant mare, I wasn't going to work her. She was unhandled. I felt like she was pregnant. I'm not going to stress her out. So she had her baby. She was very aggressive. A lot of sanctuaries would have euthanized her. She, she would lunge at people with her mouth open. She would try to kick. And she was the only Mustang I've ever seen exhibit that behavior. And I'm a mom, and I got 100% why she was that way. She had been through hell and back. She had gotten rounded up, lost her family. I could cry. I don't know, she was taken from the BLM under the Adoption Incentive Program, must have been turned out with a stallion, got pregnant, and then dumped in the auction house.
Same thing with Money Mare. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I would be fierce too. I would be very protective, and I respected that. So I decided I was just going to hold space for her to be a mom. And that's what we did. And she is now coming along really nicely. She's decided that it's okay to have a halter on. It's okay for me to pick up her feet. I had the saddle pad on her last week, and she's like, all right. She goes through all the obstacles. She actually loves going through the obstacles. And she's so smart. If you just walk up to her and you say, hold it, she'll pick up her foot and give it to you. But it's because it's a relationship.
Can you talk about that too? Go into that of what is the difference between just training a horse and really building a relationship?
Yeah, training is, and not that I'm opposed to training, because I guess I would say that I do some training, but training is more, we have a goal. This is what we're going to do. It's the steps to get to that goal may be fluid, but ultimately the goal is whatever that is, being riding or whatever. What I do is I feel like I educate. I'm the educator.
Kind of like their parents would, right? Their parents don't sit there and go, oh, I'm going to train you now. They're like, I'm going to educate you about how to be in the world so you're safe and you bring out your greatness.
Right. That's it. And not every Mustang is a suitable fit for riding. And just because they're not a suitable fit for riding doesn't mean that they're not valuable. Doesn't mean that they don't have a right to breathe and live on this earth. We were all created by the same hand. All created by the same hand. We all have just as much right to this land and this air. And we need to protect this precious ecosystem. And these horses are such an important part of it. These Mustangs are such an important part of it.
Because a lot of people, so out in the West where a lot of these wild horses are, there's also a lot of ranching, and there's oil and gas drilling, and there's mining. And the horses are often sort of seen as pests.
Right.
And nuisances, right? To the people that want to use the land and degrade it. So can you talk about what some of that education is really missing in terms of the horse's actual relationship to the land and the value that they bring towards helping to actually keep the land healthy?
It's really important question. It's a really important conversation. Horses are indigenous to North America. The oldest fossilized form of equus is found here in North America. They're doing some research now and going through all of the archaeological digs, and they're actually seeing that horses have been here through all the ages. They were never extinct in North America. Horses are one of the only...
Sorry, I just wanted to so the story about the horses came over with Columbus.
Yeah, no, that's not true. I mean, I'm not saying that Columbus didn't bring horses, and I'm not saying that there aren't some domestic, DNA in our Mustangs, because people have historically turned out their horses. There's an HMA that is all government horses. It was all Army horses that were turned out, but that's not all of it. That's like a little drop in the bucket. Horses are indigenous here. They belong here. They are one of the only species that don't digest seeds, which means that not only are they fertilizing the land, they are propagating it. So there's also scientific facts that there's population regrowth, which means that the more you cull a species, the more babies they have. So right now, the BLM is reducing the herd size to genetically unsustainable numbers.
Okay, and the BLM is the Bureau of Land Management.
Correct. And it's really sad. There's over 1 million cows, and there's less than, I think right now, they're saying the numbers are less than 40,000 horses. So each horse drinks
on the lands?
On our public land. It's actually over 1.2 million cows.
And then how many wild horses are in captivity?
I think it's like 70,000.
So way more wild horses are in captivity than they are actually out on the wild doing what they do.
Correct.
Do the cows, in terms of the creator's way of land management, do the cows add a benefit to the land?
No, they are not indigenous to North America. They drink between 30 and 50 gallons of surface water each, where a horse drinks between 5 and 10. The cows stay at the water source. They degrade the vegetation on the side of the water source. They're actually destroying the sage grouse habitat, which is now going to be an endangered species. They are destroying the waterways, which affect the fish, which affect the bald eagle's hunting habitat. They're breaking the seal in the creek bed, which means that creek bed can't hold as much water.
Is your animal not behaving as usual or not feeling well? It might be discomfort they can't tell you about. Discover the root of their issues with my in-sync body assessment and fascia release technique course, where I teach you to detect and relieve hidden discomfort in your animal's body. See immediate changes in their behavior and well-being. Enroll now at AlleciaMaine.com. Link is in the show notes. Now let's continue. I've also, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I've also heard, what about the horses and how they eat the vegetation around like tree areas? So do they participate in some kind of fire mitigation?
Absolutely. Because they fertilize and propagate the soil, the more green it is, the healthier it is. And the less forest fires you're going to have. The helicopter roundups add another piece of environmental degradation by the helicopters are one of the only aircraft that still use lead-based gasoline. The helicopter, as it flies low over the land, I mean, you can see it. It's a dust storm. Any seeds that could be propagating are upended and blown away. So removing the horses and using helicopters is destroying our environment. And it affects every American. It doesn't affect just people living out west. We need those trees. We need that land. We need our public lands to regenerate our water, to regenerate our air.
As you're saying that, I don't know why, I just got a kind of visual of the Amazon, of how like the Amazon are the lungs of the planet. And so the more that they get destroyed, the worse the air quality is going to be. I understood some of this, but when you were just saying that, it just connected in me that like, so is our West like our Amazon forest? Like it's not necessarily a rainforest. We can clearly see the distinction between those two things in the physical, but is it a similar, for the North? Well, for the Western topography, is that like, is there a connection to be made with that people can start seeing, or understanding? Like you said, it's not just the West, it's all of North America.
Right. And we need to rewild not just our horses, but our land. Everybody has these, perfect manicured lawns, and we need the trees, we need the sage grouse, we need those ecosystems, and every layer of the ecosystem has a job. And when human beings think that they are God and need to control it, there's just a breakdown. And right now we are seeing that the sun has never been hotter than it's been before. This summer was brutal. We're seeing droughts, we're seeing all of these things. And, Mother Earth is standing up and saying, stop, pay attention. It's really a precious resource, and it needs to be respected. And it's not going to be respected if we continue to allow them to desecrate ecosystems. And that's exactly what's happening.
I can't believe that is not something that is taught in school. I mean, when we look at our school system, right, in terms of education and training, the fact that these children are growing up, and I mean, I say these children because probably more than ever before, there's less and less children that are growing up deeply connected to the earth. and understanding the patterns and understanding how all of life is intricately connected in this web. Instead, they're like on the crack phones. You know, we call them smartphones. I call them stupid phones because they make us stupider. I don't think they make us smarter. They give us information in a snap of a finger. But if that information is, somehow manipulated, then you're not actually getting smarter because you're not having the experience through your body. And so that this isn't taught in our school systems. How do we teach our children how to caretake and steward our Mother Earth in a healthy way, and the importance of every single animal species? Because we're not smart enough like the big creative source that created all of this, so it is just fascinating, because I don't think a lot of people really understand. They're like, oh, that's so sad for the horses, which it absolutely is. But it's like, yeah, but that's so sad for us because we live on this planet.
That's it. But we are a society of people that want, and we don't care what the cost of that is. So, and that goes across the board. Food that we eat, cars that we buy that we're in debt up to our eyeballs, or houses that we buy. And, if people are just mindful with everything and appreciative every day of the little things, I think that we do need to be better examples for our children. Our children are seeing our government round up these horses. Our children are seeing the helicopter operators that are hired by our government hitting horses and not being, prosecuted over that. We are being a bad example. They say that animal abuse is one step away from human abuse. So I think if animal abuse is just as bad as human abuse, and I don't think that it shouldn't be a step away. I think that abuse is abuse is abuse. And I think that if you are treating an animal or a being harshly, I think that we have laws for that. Then those laws should be upheld. And I think that by allowing these helicopter operators to be so abusive, just yesterday, Laura Lee posted there was a horse in one of the traps that I guess got its legs stuck, and nobody did anything about it for over a half an hour. Like that's neglect. That's abuse. Once you get those horses in that trap, you are now responsible for them. And because we use helicopters, we're not allowed to even view the trap site, which opens up the door for
so much abuse,
so much tax fraud, so much. It's really sad. I sat at my computer this morning, and when I saw that video, and I'm so grateful to her for being out there, because if it wasn't for advocates like Laura Lee, and there's a million, I could name a bunch of them, but
Scott Begstead.
Yeah, we need them. Like, I'm on boots on the ground here, which means that I'm actively caring for Mustangs. I'm actively bringing in and trying to train or offering sanctuary, but it takes a lot of time, effort, and money. And without my volunteers, donors, and sponsors, I can't continue doing what I'm doing. But I need people that are out there, publishing and bearing witness to what's going on. We can't all do that,
No. And some of us, so I agree with you, because so many of my, how can I contribute, right? I contribute through body work. I contribute through listening to these horses. I contribute through helping us reconnect the dots of the unified science. You talked about the helicopters, and I was like, oh my God. So I did a PhD research study with 27 formerly wild Mustangs via Zoom to prove my goal wasn't to prove how sensitive they are. My goal was to prove how body misalignment affects behavior. But through that, it became like, oh my God, if a horse can feel energy at 2,000 miles away, what's a helicopter that's 40 feet over their head? doing to them, to their nervous systems, to their babies. And you had mentioned something about tax dollars. I don't think most of the U.S. population really understands that our tax dollars, are literally going to fund this abuse. So we are participating in this, and that's why it matters, because when the people start to say, no way, Jose, I am not allowing my tax dollars to be utilized for this, things actually start to change. And so when people go, okay, that's so sad, but I live in a city, so what can I do? Well, you can start telling your government and your representatives, that's not where my money is going to go, and if you're going to do that, then that money should go to people like you, people like my friend George Bronis, people like, that are rescuing these horses, and they're doing it out of the love and the passion in their hearts, but it costs money to take care of these animals. And so if our tax dollars are being collected to take these animals off the land, then those same tax dollars should also be going to the people who are helping support these animals in sanctuary, not to abuse more horses.
And not to pad the pockets of a few ranchers that are on the Forbes top millionaire list. I think that, these ranchers are paying $1.34 per head per month for a mom and a baby, $1.34 for the two of them. These same ranchers get paid $850 for every horse they get in the trap. Then they get paid $350 to transport that horse to their own holding facility, where they're paid $5 per head per night per horse. $5 for the mom, $5 for the baby. So when you look at, those are taxpayer dollars. These ranchers now have to feed and water those horses. So why don't we just cut out the helicopter roundup? Why don't we just cut out transporting them and pay the ranchers to bring them out some water if the water's the issue or feed's the issue? Or why don't we do one cow for every one horse? Or why don't we just remove the cows and let the ecosystem rebuild? I think that that's the best option, but I'm willing to compromise. I'm not willing to compromise with the helicopter roundups. They need to stop. They need to stop. And I will continue to advocate. I will continue to fight. I will continue to advise and educate and post and do whatever I can to let everyone know that this is just, it's not right. I was just down in Washington with Homes for Horses, and there's a couple of bills that are kind of waning in Congress. So there's HR 3656, which is in Congress, and that'll make the use of helicopters in the roundups illegal. We need everybody to reach out to their congressmen and ask them to sponsor it. They want it to be bipartisan. So, it needs to be one Democrat for every one Republican. And I know people don't want to talk about that, but they want it to be bipartisan. And we need a companion bill in the Senate for HR 3656. This needs to happen. It needs to stop.
How do people take action on that? And we'll also leave that in the comments too, like in the description at the bottom. But how can people get involved?
Reach out to your congressman, reach out to your senators, reach out to your congressmen, reach out to your senators. If you don't know how to do that, reach out to me. I'll give you a letter. I'll find out if you don't know who it is, I'll find out for you. I will help you. And we do have letters that we've written up, but sometimes it's nice to do something in your own hand. Send an email, follow up with a letter, let them know that you stand against the use of helicopters in the roundups.
I have a video too that if you want to share it, or we can, put it out there, but it landed up winning an award at Equus Film Festival. And sadly, it was like the first or the second animal healer TV episode I ever did. But this horse that lived in where my horse was a Mustang named Gus. And Gus, his owner came one day and Gus was dead. And Gus was young. I mean, it was only like 5 or 7 years old. And she was just about to start doing, some training. And he was the loveliest being. And when they got the x-rays back from the vet, there was like a web across his forehead where he must have smashed his head. But that head smash came from crashing into BLM metal, traps. And then all it took was one right hit on his nose, and he literally, unfortunately, bled to death. Sorry, you guys. I was not expecting to go here, and I probably should have given you a warning about this. But, it didn't have to happen, is the whole thing. And then somehow my editor got video footage, and it showed what happens when these guys are forced into these traps together, how they're smashing their foreheads against the metal bars because they're not used to being in such close captivity. Like, they're used to each other, but they always have room to get away. But when you put all these horses in a stressed out environment, and now you are, you're traumatizing them with helicopters, you're traumatizing them with mean people that say they know about horses, and they're flagging them all over the place. These horses are getting hurt. It's not just that they're gathering these animals. It's the fact that these animals, like you said, the horse that got its leg caught, this horse that landed up dying, these horses that we're seeing trying to jump over fences and flipping over and potentially breaking their necks. This is abuse at any level, and it is not humane behavior for any animal. So,
do you know what I find really hard to process? So many Americans point their finger at Japan for gathering the dolphins and slaughtering them.
Right. It's the
so
same
many
thing.
People point their finger at China for slaughtering whales because, whales are so great and dolphins are so great. They point their finger at Korea for eating dogs. How is America any better? How can you point your finger at any other country when in America we are slaughtering our iconic Mustang? When Ford named their car, the most famous car that they have, they called it the Mustang because it's the symbol of American freedom. And if you take pride in being an American, if you feel that we are, truly the land of the free, and that can be debated right now, but, I don't want to go there, but you'll stand up for these Mustangs.
Can we segue that into what have these Mustangs taught you? Like, what have they shared with you as a human at an essence level? How have they helped you understand being human better? How have they helped you understand, whether it's the unified field or the intimate connection of communion with all life and sacred spaces? Like, how have they helped you educate your soul? And then how are they helping support the work that you do with children, with veterans? Like, what have they shared with you?
That is a long list.
Start at the top. We got some time.
I now do a thing on my Facebook page, Mustang Musings. And I think that, on a very, base level, what they've taught me is, all of the materialistic stuff, all of the outside noise that happens is really not that important. Life is full of these beautiful, precious moments, the things that are in front of you, the things, if you're with a horse and you're on your phone, like right now I'm with the horses and I'm on my phone, but I'm doing this. But there's times that people get upset with me because they don't hear back from me for hours. And it's because I'm with the horses. I'm going to be present and I'm going to be aware. And if I'm not, then they're not with me. And I can't have a conversation with a horse if I'm thinking about, what's happening with my kids or what the dog's doing or what my neighbor's doing or the lawnmower that's going. So it really has taught me to be still and to be present and to be incredibly grateful for every moment.
That's really big in today's world. Do you know what I mean? Because everything, like especially with this increase in technology. And I have to laugh because I'm 55, but I don't find myself to be old, but I'm like, oh my God, we were alive before any of these handheld computers or phones or anything. Like we are probably the last generation, right, that grew up without any of this stuff, right? So we knew what it was to go off into the woods or to hang out with our friends and to have such a different level of connection, not just agreeing with each other, but like connection like a herd,
right?
Connection like a pack. It's very, nowadays it's so easy with these tools of technology. Like people can just say things randomly and they don't even I'm not invalidating how somebody feels about something, but I often now start to wonder how much experience, real live, not virtual, real live, actual experience and interaction with what they are speaking about have they actually had, right? Because, there was just, it's just what it was. Like you said about being with the horses and being present, right? Like how present are we if all of us are sitting at dinner and everybody's like, on their phones and texting and doing all this stuff. And like you can't feel anymore. I think that that's such a big thing of being present. You can feel what's going on with these horses. And then they help you remember, oh shit, this is actually how I really feel. Not saying that you have to take on what they're feeling, but they get you back in touch with, like, oh my God, I'm not just a thinking being. I'm actually a feeling being that's connected with all life. So how has that helped you? How has that supported you in your life, in your career, in the work that you do with other people? Because I know that you work with veterans and I know you work with children in the community and even your volunteers. Like, how do you see that wisdom that they carry? Because most of us are always thinking, oh, I've got to train the horse. I've got to train the dog. We're not thinking like, I think this animal might have showed up in my life because they're a big teacher for me. So how do you see that play out at the sanctuary and how's it played out in your life?
Again, that's a very big question with a lot of information. But I think that the biggest takeaway from here during our programs is compassion for another being teaches you to be compassionate for yourself. And sometimes we are so tough on ourselves. And once you get that ball rolling where you have a little bit of compassion for another being, and then you realize you could be a little bit more compassionate for yourself, it allows you to be more compassionate all around. And then you find yourself being less judgmental. You find yourself being more open. You find yourself being able to reprocess traumas that have happened to you and to be a little bit more compassionate towards people that may have hurt you, because you realize, they did that because they were doing the best that they could do at that time. So by learning compassion, it just changes everything. And I think that that's really the key.
It's huge. So this one's going to be kind of like a twofold question that comes out of that last one. So one, do you find that the horses, even if there was trauma, even if there was abuse, do you find that they are beings that understand self-love for themselves? Like, did they continue to traumatize themselves or beat themselves up the way that humans do?
Not at all. Not at all. And they also don't hold things against you. Mm-hmm. Like if you have... So like
when people say, my horse doesn't like me and blah, 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 my horse is being a jerk towards me, like no basis in reality?
No. And right now as I'm talking to you, Coco's like blowing on my head because she's trying to figure out what I'm doing. Yeah, there she's... she's not locked in a stall. She's just, her and Hope are in the stall behind me because they want to know what I'm doing. But they're more forgiving of us, and they definitely don't. I mean, there are times when you see that they realize that they made a mistake and they feel bad about it, but not all of them do that. You know, like Hope is one that if she does something wrong, she runs into her stall.
Oh,
yeah, like, you know, sometimes she's a foodie. So sometimes if I'm walking with hay, she'll like grab it out of my arms and all I have to do is look at her and she's like, ah, and she goes running.
Sorry.
But for the most part, I think that they are just truly in the moment and trying to survive, you know?
Okay, that leads me into my next question about this kind of movement that a lot of people are moving towards, like horses as healers. And so when I hear that, it makes me think that people are relying on the horse to do some kind of magical whatever horse stuff, because heart math has proven that they've got a bigger heart field, right? But I mean, doesn't that kind of make sense? They say it's 5 times larger than a human. I'm like, well, isn't the average horse size 5 times? Unless you're dealing with ponies, and now you got a smaller space, but even more intensity. But you know, like think about it. The human is 5 times smaller than the horse in most cases. So that's physically in and of itself, it's going to be a bigger energetic field. But I've come across kind of like this underbelly that's upsetting me a bit about the healing, like horses are healers. And so, you know, I'm watching people kind of put horses into situations. Now, no, there's no abuse, you know, there's no like physical abuse. I think, was that Coco or was that Hope? She was like, I have some things to say about this. So there's that distinction, right, between making the horse like your therapist or your healer versus a horse being a horse. And in that energy field, they hold a space for people to be able to heal. Like, do you have, because you work with this on a daily basis, like, do you have, you know, what's your thoughts? And
sorry, Hope is being very silly.
Well, no, but Hope also is like, I have some things to say about this. So
what do you think, Hope? Really? She's too cute. Well, because horses' respiration and heart rate are so much less than ours, it immediately causes, when you're in their space, it causes your biorhythms to be slower. And I think that if people are suffering from anxiety or, you know, they're up, whatever it is, something's bothering them, when you're with a horse, your biorhythms go down, which is why I think they think that they're healers.
So entrainment, right? And entanglement, like if you, and that's physics. I mean, that is literally physics tells us, okay, if we live in a unified field, we're going to start entraining. Okay, so there's an entrainment piece that the horses are potentially helping us entrain to our parasympathetic nervous system.
Right. Right. So I think that that's one thing. I think also because they're so grounded, you know, they've got 4 feet on the ground. Their heads are down on the ground. Like they can't be any more grounded. Just that magnetic field that they have of the grounding. It's like a grounding rod for this crazy life that we live. And so I think that those are 2 reasons. They're also very empathetic. So they will call you out. Like, you know, if my head's not in the game, if I'm somewhere else, they let me know, you know? Is there a reason why you like to mess up my hair, woman?
No, I told her, I said, I hear you. She said, I have a message. I said, okay. She goes, I'm coming. Is it okay if I,
she just not.
Is it okay if I share what she's wanting to share? Is that your permission?
She just knocked me out of the way so that she could.
Oh my goodness. Do you want to, you're on. You have a message to share with humanity, don't you? All right, Missy, what do you want to share with everybody? She said, first of all, I'm really honored to be here. She said, I've been waiting to be able to share my message. She said, I'm not a horse that's like on the highest, the totem pole. She said, but I'm a very deeply feeling girl, and I understand very deeply the essence of the connection of horses and humans. Okay, tilt the camera up just a little bit more. Like upward towards her face, just so I want to be able to see her eyes as we. There we go. That's okay. You okay? All right, there we go. So she said, I come from the hope of horses. That part of our being here is to live our wild lives. But as we came more and more into contact, there were certain peoples that really respected who we were and that were deeply connected to our hearts. She said, and then things started to happen. She's talking right now. She's expressing her understanding and awareness of Mustang history through the ages. And she said, in about 150 years ago, there started to be a disconnection with the humans that started to use horses, not live with horses as family. She said, so I hold the ray of hope for horses and humans to remember that we are part of the same sacred hoop, that we share the same unified energy field, and that we are here to live together in balance and harmony, that we are not here to use one another. We are here to help remind each other of what the Creator's plan has been for all of us to come back together and remember the sacred hoop of all life. Ooh.
She's an amazing girl, I have to tell you.
She's so amazing.
Sorry, and I tripped over my water bottle. That's what I tripped over.
Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I just don't have any water bottle.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with us.
She's really such a special girl.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I just love her. All right.
And she's so present. She's so unbelievably present right now. I mean, she could have walked away. She could have. She is just holding this space. She said, I'm offering a transmission through this conversation, because we always include the animals in our conversation because we can speak with them. So why not ask the source directly, right? So as she said, I'm holding a space of energy and transmission so that people can feel that, not just with their intellect, but as you sit and breathe and you start belly breathing and you start relaxing into your stomach and your gut brain. She said, I'm sending out a transmission for you to remember how to feel that connection so that we can all stop hurting each other. We can all remember that we are here in a space of unity and love. All of the different species, and I know that humanity is a single species, but for all of the species, we are all a family. And I hope that you can feel the love that's coming from my being and from my soul essence, and sit with that for a little while. Aww.
I love her so much.
Oh my God, she's so magnificent.
Mm-hmm. People can go to our website.
Yes, please tell us what that is.
Well, www.mustangvalleysanctuary.com, and you can read Hope's story there.
And also, do you have something set up? So like if people are listening to the interview and they say, okay, I want to sponsor a horse, I want to contribute. Like, do you have places on there where people can contribute to the care of the horses?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a thing that says Meet the Herd, and you can go through and Meet the Herd, and then you can sponsor any one of them. There's a donate link. So you could donate X amount. You could have it recurring monthly, $10, $100, whatever it is a month.
And anything helps, even if it's $10 and you think, oh, that's not enough to support a horse. If you're making a contribution to it, that adds to supporting the horses. So whatever amount, it's not too small and it's never too big.
No,
either.
No.
Yeah.
And we do need the help. We have 3 more Mustangs coming in this week. So that's a whole other story. But
what does it cost on average? What does it cost to take care of a Mustang a month, for every month?
Without the training portion of it, the education portion of it, it's around $300 a month.
Okay. And then with the education portion added in?
It depends.
On what they need and where they're at?
Yeah, okay. Because, right now we are all volunteer based. So if anybody wants to come volunteer.
Yes, and you are in West Fulton, New York. So people around the area, people in New York can come and visit, go spend a weekend, go spend a weekend and hang out with the horses. Also you offer programs as well, correct?
Yep. We have cabins. So if people wanted to come and volunteer for a day or two.
Oh my God, what a treat.
Yeah. And people can also volunteer remotely. There are always remote things. My volunteer coordinator always needs help. There's a number of administrative things that we can always use help with. And that just frees me up to work with the Mustangs even more.
Ever wished you could just ask your pet what they need? With Can You Hear Me Now, an introduction to animal communication, you can do just that. Join me, Dr. Allecia Maine, as I guide you step by step to understand and speak the language of your beloved animals. Transform your relationship today. Click the link in the notes below on AlleciaMaine.com, and we will see you soon and get you communicating with your animals with ease in their natural language. I'm sure you wear many, 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 many hats. And also too, you offer programs. So people check out, if you're interested in working with the horses, Mary's got some really awesome different types of programs where she brings in other trainers, she brings in other facilitators, and go spend a weekend with the horses and learn, re-educate yourself by being around the horses, plus learning something really cool that you may never have known before. Just open up your awareness to that experience. Cool.
Yeah. Yesterday we did a body work thing where we did body work with the horses, working their bladder meridian and, working with the hyaloid release and a few other things.
So speaking of body work, so one of the things that I have been doing with my research is, what do horses actually understand? Like, can they feel energy at a distance? Can it help support them? And how far of a distance can horses feel energy? And does it change their behaviors? Especially when it comes to body alignment. So I know we talked about this. Does Miss Coco Chanel, is she ready to do a session for her so we can see in real time what she is experiencing and receive her feedback on what horses' perspectives are on body work and alignment and energy? What do you think, girl? Would you like to participate? I love how impeccable Hope was in all of her behaviors. Like, she never got mouthy. She never got pushy. She just was so unbelievably present.
Yeah, she's.
And Coco was too. Coco was just like, this is Hope's part for this interview. As we talk through this with Mary, this was Coco's like, no, now it's my turn.
That's exactly what she was just saying. Did you see that?
Yes. She just kind of turned her head to the right to Hope, who was coming out of the stall, and Coco said, listen, you had your say. Now I want to do my part in helping people understand what we horses know about the unified field. It was so funny.
They are too funny. So Hope's upset about this, so she's banging the stall door.
So I'm going to tell Hope it's totally okay, because if I work with Coco, if you just relax, you're also going to feel through quantum entanglements what Coco could be experiencing. So you'll have your turn too. So you're not missing out on anything whatsoever. Okay, girl? All right.
Well, okay, she stopped banging. Look at her.
There we go. It's okay. Just tune into quantum entanglements. Just soak up the energy. Okay.
And she's not locked in. These horses are not locked in. They just choose to be here.
That's hilarious. Yeah, which is huge, right? Because both of them could have completely walked away and said, yeah, thanks. Okay, this was great. Bye. But
their wild area is open. They could be out hanging out in trails.
Amazing. Oh, girls. Mary, that's so touching. All right, so I'm going to start an in-sync body assessment and fascia release with Coco. So what that would look like if I was standing there with you is I would have both of my thumbs, and I'd start at the top of her nostrils. And there's just different points that go up the face and go down the back, and then also come down the belly line that I will be touching. And where you're in New York, you're upstate New York, I'm in Colorado, so we're probably a good 2,500 miles away from each other. And I've never met these horses. Like, they've never met me. They've never smelled me. They have no idea what I'm going to do with body work. So let's just see what happens. And Mary, you give us your feedback, like on what you're seeing, on what you're sensing that the horse is experiencing as I touch these different points. And the only thing that I'll ask is that while I'm working with her, just keep hands off of her, because I want her to tune into her body. All right, so I'm
just going to switch sides so I can see her on my.
And if you could back up just a little bit more. There you go. Awesome. That way we could see her. Okay, and then upward so we can see her face. Yep. Okay. And back just a little bit. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to just ask Coco if I have her permission. I'm just going to gently put my fingers on the tops of her nostrils. And what happens with this is I can feel through my thumbs where her fascia tissue feels compressed or where it needs a release. And so all I'll be doing is just releasing her tight fascia if she has any. All right, so fingers are at the top of her nose, or at her nostrils, on the top side of her face. I'm not inside her body. So the right side is a little compressed down. The left side's a little pushed up and a little pushed inward towards the midline. So I'm just releasing that. And she can eat, she can do whatever she needs to. It's not, I don't need her to stand still in order to be able to work with her and release these things for her. Okay, so now that is realigned, and she just felt an increase of energy flow going up her right nostril. She's like, I can breathe better now through that nostril, which is great. Okay, so now I'm going to go up about 3 inches on her nose. And the right side also has a little bit of a compression in the fascia tissue. And if you can move back so we can keep seeing her face, that would be awesome. Okay, so now I'm releasing that tissue. Okay, now she said, okay, now the left side, I feel more air going up through both sides of my face. So I'm like, great. And she actually stopped eating. Okay, so now I'm going to go up another 3 inches. So I'm about 9 inches up. I'm just a little bit below the nose band. That actually feels pretty even and relaxed right there. And Mary, feel free to chime in if you're noticing that when I'm touching certain spaces, if you're noticing that she's doing certain things.
She tried to eat the phone. She's never done that before.
She was like, back up. And now she's licking and chewing. So she's like, yep, I'm feeling the releases. Okay, so now I'm going to go on her head and her neck. Okay, cool. So now I'm on her nose band. So the right side is compressed down a little bit, left side is popped up a little bit. And it does feel like there's a rotation in there. Like if you had your hands on a steering wheel from like 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So I'm just going to release that for her. Okay, so she's just kind of had like congestion. I'm just going to call it energetic congestion. Now she's got her lips open. Now
she just gave a big breath.
Awesome. And she was like releasing her jaw really big.
Yeah.
Here she goes. Okay. And wow.
So hard not to touch her. I'm sorry.
I know. Just let her. The reason why I don't have people touch her is 2 things. 1, I don't want to confuse energies. And 2, I want the horse to totally just be responding to their own body, not have to respond to anything else. Okay, so that was about 4 big yawns, and the tissue is releasing itself. So what she's telling me is I have better flow energetically as I'm breathing in. She had been feeling a little bit congested because all of these little torques and all these little compressions, it's not going to hurt the horse, but if you can increase their flow of chi, that's a great thing. So now she's yawning again with that tongue out. Okay, and if you could step back a little bit more just so we could see her whole, a little bit more, because I want to see from her ears to her mouth. A little bit back more, yep. So Hope is still unwinding. I am at her nose band. So we're just getting that tissue released for her. There we go. And I'm not asking her to do a single thing. I'm not communicating with her like, hey, could you please yawn for us? So I'm going to pick up from where I was, and we were on the nose band. And now I'm going to go 3 inches above her nose band. And we've got a little bit of actually pushing forward on the right and a little pulling back on the left in her tissue. So I'm going to release that for her. And camera a little bit down and a little bit backward, a little bit more. Yep, perfect. Okay, so we're releasing that. Okay, that's rebalanced. Okay, now I'm going to go up to just under her eyes. So we've got a little bit of compression on the left side towards the back of her face. And on the right side, it's just a little push forward, and she just picked her head up off the ground. And as she comes in, you're going to just need to step back and hope like, okay, I get it now. I can receive this too. And I'm like, yes, you can. All right. And I just need you to step back so we can see her whole head. Yep. There we go. Okay. So now that's released underneath her eyes. Now I'm going to stick my fingers, my thumbs in the corner of her eyes. I'm just going to see how the tissue is there. So we got a little bit of tightness on the right, little bit of pushing in on the left. So I'm releasing that for her in her eye area. There you go, girl. Now she said, now I feel a really full flow through my whole nasal cavity. She said, I don't feel any more congestion. It feels lighter to her. Like she can take a breath and there's nothing, no clogged energy congestion. Okay, now I'm going to come up to her eyebrow points. So left eyebrow point, just a little bit higher towards the ceiling than the right. So I'm just going to release that for her. And she's starting to lick and chew. Just a little one. Okay. I might need you on the other side of her because the camera's picking up the backlighting. And so there we go. Perfect. A little further back. The tissue in the the tissue in her at her eyebrow points is balanced. So now I'm going to go up to her forehead. So that one's actually pretty good. Nice. So I'm just holding my fingers there. She just got an increase of energy flow, but there's no, it's not misaligned. Okay, now I'm going to go to her ear points. So this is right in front of the opening of her ears. And if you could turn the camera just a tad to the right. So I see her whole face. Yep, perfect. There we go. All right, so now I'm on her ear points. So she said the right side is compressed a little bit, left side is popped up a little bit. So just releasing that. There you go. I think Hope is releasing also. She's like, I think I'm starting to get this quantum entanglement thing, what you meant. Yeah, we're going to go to the top. Sorry. Got it. Oh, well, we might be releasing some of that, hopefully. Because asthma might also just be a compression in some of the fascia tissue. So we'll see. Because she might actually be able to breathe a little bit better after this also. All right, so now I'm going up to Coco's pole. So the right side's compressed a little bit, left side's up a little bit. So just releasing that. And Hope is definitely in there. She's releasing some stuff. She's got her whole jaw going and releasing. Okay, coming to the occiput. Right side is rolled forward a little bit. Left side is rolled back just a little bit. And again, all I'm doing, I'm not releasing bones. And just releasing the tightness in the fascia tissue. And then, however, that translates into her body relaxing bones, that's up to her. Okay. And now we're going to C1. So C1's a little compressed and rolled back on the right. I'm sorry, on the left, a little popped up on the right. So releasing that. And you just let us know, like, what are you seeing from Coco? Anything you're seeing from Hope? Coco's so funny. She's like, this is my session. Hope's kind of piggybacking. She's like stepped in front. Like, you don't get to see Hope releasing as much. You need to stay with me. I'm totally staying with you. And we can see what's going on with Hope also, okay? Okay. All right, her C2 is a tiny bit compressed on the right, little popped up on the left, so releasing the tissue there. C3 is okay. C4 is good. C5 is good. C6. C6 is a little rolled back on the left, a little rolled forward on the right, just releasing that. And just feel free to let me know whatever you are seeing with Coco or with Hope. Okay, C7. C7's a little compressed on the left, just a little popped up on the right, releasing that. T1, we're good. Oh, she said I'm a little tight on the left, so just releasing that. Good girl. Okay, so she's pretty even now in her stance, which is great. T2. So she's okay on her T2, but she said check in with Coco because not check in with Hope. She said Hope's a little bit congested in her T2. So she's like, open it up on me and it'll help open up Hope's. So now she's doing her herd like, okay, she can have a little bit more of this. And I'm, she's allowing Hope and see what Hope needs also.
When you said that, Coco did some unwinding and Hope started to bob her head.
Aww. Coco is she is a force. And I don't mean force like she's a bad horse, anything like that. But I'm like, this is a strong, grounded mare.
She is amazing.
Yes, agreed.
I love her.
Oh my God. Okay, T3. She's incredible. And she also too, it's interesting. There's a guardian aspect of her. Like she's actually guardianing Hope. I thought she was keeping her in her stall. She's like, no, but my energy field is increasing and I'm actually helping support Hope. I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. Because you could feel the energy from Coco. It's like grounded mama bear. Hope has this incredible innocence and like almost like childlike quality to her. It's beautiful. They're both beautiful. Okay, so I'm on her T4. She's stepping forward. So she's just releasing. This is also too why I'll never work on an animal and have them in a halter. Because if I release something, I don't know, they might need to move. And I'm just releasing. They know what to do best with their body. What? Camera went off. It's okay. It's okay.
That was Coco.
So now we're in T5. So T5 got a little compression on the right, downward, a little popping up on the left. Okay, T6. There goes T6, opening really nicely. Okay, T7. Yeah, if you could step back just a little, because I feel like is she also doing mouth releases now?
Not yet. Her neck just cracked, though.
Okay, that's good. Okay, T7. So just a little bit rotated back on the right, a little popped up on the left, so releasing that. T8. Oh my God, I love it. She let Hope out of her soul. Oh. All right, there's T8 opening. T9. T9's a little rolled forward on the right, and it's fine on the left. And there we go. Okay, T10. T10 is a little compressed down on the right, a little popped up on the left. T11. It's good. T12. Opening. T13. T13 is rotated backward a little bit, popped up on the left a little bit. So just releasing there. Fourteen. Open. 15. How is she feeling to you? 16. Like, where is that chick in the camera? Give me the camera.
What?
She's like, where's that chick in the camera? Give me the camera.
She's actually petting me since I'm not petting her.
Aww.
So she's using her lip to like rub my leg, to rub my ribs.
Okay, the camera just popped off again. Okay. Well, now, so we went through T17, T18, so now we're on her lumbar 1. Okay, lumbar 1's a little contracted inward on both sides, so we're just releasing that. Lumbar 2. Little compressed down on the right, little popped up on the left. So L2, L3 is a little compressed inward, releasing that. L4. Opening. Yep. Here goes L4.
Now she's yawning.
Yep. 4. Okay, L5. L5 is fine. It was just a little tiny bit tight in the tissue. L6. L7. L7's a little rotated back on the right, little rolled forward on the left. Releasing that. Okay, and I can only see like from her shoulder to her butt right now. I can't see her face. Okay, her S1. Releasing that. And she's releasing. Okay.
Oh, is that another yawn coming? There it goes.
Yeah, her S2 is pretty rolled back on the left and it's popped up on the right. Can you raise the camera just a little so we can see her full head? There we go. All right, that's her S2 releasing. Now we're on her sacrum 3. That's opening on the left. 4. Little compressed on the right, little popped up on the left, and on the right side it's kind of pushed in towards her spine a little. So just releasing that. Good girl. Yeah, her sacrum was definitely a little stuckish, in at least in the tissue, in the fascia tissue. Okay, S3. S3 is compressed downward a little bit. They're releasing that. S4 is a little pulled together in the center. Are you able to step back so we could see her in the, and S5? Right, S5, a little rolled back, a little compressed inward. And we're releasing that. Okay, there. Yep. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so that's her whole spine. We're just going to check her chest. So my hands are around the outside of her shoulders. Her left pec is a little bit tighter and lifted. Her right pec is a little bit more lax and pulled backward. So we're going to release those muscles for her. Okay, just checking our chest bone, which is shifted a tiny bit to the right, and releasing that. Okay. All right, so now that chest bone is centered. Now I'm just going to draw a line from her chest bone down the front of her chest, through the front of her legs, all the way down to all the way down her belly line, to her umbilical cord point, to just make sure her nervous system center is relaxed. So she has me stopping just a little bit at her solar plexus. Okay, so now she's really setting in and anchoring. Okay, now I'm going down through her belly line to her umbilical cord. Hope is cute. She's like, may I join you all? It's like, of course you can. Okay, so that umbilical cord point is good. So now I'm going to go, yep, good girl. I'm going to her hips. Oh, let her hang out. Let her hang out. You're still getting work done. All right, left hip is a tiny bit rolled forward. Right hip is a tiny bit rolled back. So just releasing that. She's perfect. You know, Mustangs are interesting too, even in terms of body alignment, because they are so hardy. They can move fantastic and yet still have, you know, like subtle, like tissue compressions, and we won't see it. You know what I mean? Like, because we're not lame. And so that what that will do is that anything that got released, it will just, she's going to move forward from here. Like, so that will keep supporting her system, and any places she had any subluxations or tightnesses, that's all, it's done. Like, she doesn't have to go back there. All right, awesome. Okay. She is good.
I have to tell you, I can confirm that medically, she had a shoulder issue on the right side, and I had the whole shoulder. She was kicked in the shoulder, so everything that you said, like there was actually a little bit of atrophy on the right side, and on the left side was, you know, taking over from all the work. So you were seeing it much tighter on the left side and looser on the right side. It was just like the medical images supported what you were saying.
That's awesome. And what's so cool about it, a lot of times people are doing work, right? Like, so I'm doing distance work with her. But the reality is I'm just showing up to say, hey, here's my hands. You know your body. Why don't you tell me what's going on with your body? And if I can release that for you and I can support you with that, so it makes it easier for you, to be in your body, to be freer, to be more relaxed. It's just fascinating what these animals know about themselves, and how much I know, and how much like we think they don't know yet. Oh my God, how much they do know. It's just different. You know what I mean? Because they don't speak like with their lips the way that we do. It's astounding to me over these years of working with them, and especially working with the Mustangs. Because I'm sure if you watched Coco move, you probably be like, all right, yeah, maybe a little bit here, maybe a little bit there. But you wouldn't have said anything's wrong, right? Until when you did see, hi there, it's Dr. Allecia Maine, the animal healer, and I am the host of Ask the Animal Healer with Dr. Allecia Maine, and I would love to invite you to come on to my podcast. So what do we do and what do we talk about on the podcast? We talk about holistic health and healing for animals. We also talk about you and your career and your life and how animals have influenced your own life and how they've contributed to you, some of their wisdom and things that they have shared with you that have helped heal your heart, heal your faith. Maybe, like me, they helped you find your career direction. So we will have these conversations. And towards the end of the podcast, I will also offer your animal an in-sync body assessment and fascia release session. So this is for animals that are having any kind of behavior issues or health issues, or just a preventative, basically to demonstrate what animals know about the unified energy field and consciousness. So it'll be a nice treat for them. You'll get to see how they respond to it, and we keep promoting the science of the unified field. So if that sounds like something that's fun, it's a pleasurable experience. We've got a lot of aha moments. There might be things that your animals also share with you and have messages for you about. I'd love to have you as a guest. I'd love to have you join me. I'd love to meet you and your animals and just dive into the world that they know and how they influence our worlds and how they help us to co-create heaven on Mother Earth and the incredible teachers that they are for us. So if that resonates, please reply below. I'm in, and I look forward to scheduling a time to meet with you and to interview you and your animals. It could be dog, cat, horse, bird, snake, turtle, any of the animals that have touched and influenced your life that you'd like to share about. Thank you so much for your time, and I really look forward to meeting you and your animals. Have a beautiful day. People can find you at Mustang Valley Sanctuary.com or .org.com. They can learn about how to visit the sanctuary. They can learn about how to donate. They can learn about what's going on with the wild Mustangs and how to contribute and follow you as you are advocating for the horses, and they can learn more. Awesome. Well, I gotta thank you on so many levels. Like, thank you because this is not just work. This is a life mission, and life's missions don't always put you in a position of working in a way you normally would to receive finances. So part of that life's mission is also being open to other people contributing and caring and taking care of horses in the ways that they can. Because sometimes contribution is, you know what, there's nothing I can do for the horses, but I can contribute money. So thank you for following this mission, because I know that it's not a 5-day a week, 40-hour a week job. It's probably a 7-day a week, 100-hour a week job mission that you follow what you love, but there's also practicalities.
Yeah, It's long days. I tell people, life is not easy, but it's good. It is long days, and, you miss a lot of family things because, you're all set to go, and all of a sudden there's an emergency with a horse, or, something, feeding takes you 4 hours instead of 2 hours because, whatever that thing is, or the water breaks, or whatever that is. You have to be committed to it. And unfortunately, it has to be a top priority. And my family is very supportive with that. I could not do this work if my children were not supportive, saying, Mom, I know you love us. Yeah. Yeah. They're like, Mom, I know you love us, but take care of what you need to take care of,
Oh, that's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. So any last thoughts, comments, wisdoms, musings that you would like to share with people about the horses, about life, about horses and life?
Just, be respectful, be mindful. Things were not created on mistake, and we were all created by the same hand.
That's huge. That's huge. You're all created by the same hand. I think we forget that. And that same hand created feet and hooves and paws and, claws and
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. And reach out. Mustang Valley Sanctuary. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. And you can follow me. I put my Mustang musings on my Facebook page, Mary DeBonis.
DEBONIS.
Yep. Yeah, it's a picture of me with a horse. Yeah. So it's important. Advocate, donate, volunteer. Those are 3 things that you can do today.
Advocate, donate, volunteer. You got a choice, pick one. Whichever one resonates with you. Advocate, donate, volunteer, whatever works for you.
Right. There's always a way you can help.
Absolutely. And somebody's over your shoulder behind you.
That would be Coco, because she's got to be near me. I love her.
She's awesome. She's awesome.
You love that little nose.
So it'd be awesome to let us know, if you notice any shifts or changes in her. How is she feeling? Is she embodying her body bigger? Is she breathing better? And also too, with hope. We didn't work on hope directly, but it would just be interesting to know if she picked up anything from it, and did it affect her asthma? Did it shift it a little bit?
Yeah, I'm just looking at her. She's so cute.
She's so cute. What a powerful man.
She knows we're talking about her. She just turned and looked right at me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for putting your entire heart and soul and being into the mission that you serve with these animals. Thank you for advocating. Thank you for being there every day. Thank you for helping them heal. Thank you for helping educate them to be in a safe way with humans. Thank you for helping getting them adopted. Thank you for all of it.
Aww, and thank you so much for having me and for the work that you do. I'm glad to be part of your herd.
Ditto. Right back at you. Right back at you. We'll just keep connecting herds around the world and reinforce the energy of communion with all life and heaven on Mother Earth. I think this is really where the horses are teaching us, right? To heal our own selves and to heal the broken strings that were have been disconnected in the unified field and the sacred hoop. So thank you for being here today and connecting another one of those, reconnecting.
Well, thank you for having me. And thank you to everybody who's listening. Hopefully we've got more Mustang warriors. Yes.
Because Lord knows they can use it. And the people taking care of them could also use the support as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Apologies if it went deeper or we, went into a little bit too much reality, but when you work with these animals, you got to keep it real. Like, you can't sugarcoat stuff for people. And I think that everybody has a right to know what is truly happening and has a right to decide how they want to take a part and play their role as a taxpayer, in which way do these decisions get to go? So thank you for sharing all of that. And thank you guys for listening. And I look forward to sharing with you Mary's work and see you on the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to Ask the Animal Healer. I hope today's episode inspires you to build even stronger bonds with your animal companions. Don't forget to visit our website, AlleciaMaine.com, to discover more about how you can revolutionize your relationship with your best friends. See you next time for more insights and stories right here. Until then, keep listening and loving your furry animal family members. Bye.